What's going on, everybody? It's Aurora coming at you with a brand new video, and last night we got some more stuff revealed for Legacy of Destruction coming out, and because of little incident that involved with my work schedule and everything, I can cover it a tiny bit earlier than I would have by doing it after work, so I'm pretty grateful for that. And it looks like we got new Melodious support coming out, which I think is interesting because Melodious is a deck that people have always been like screaming for support for, and I remember specifically from like the Rata video that it has a tiny control like loop, and that's kind of the only thing it has going for it, because 90% of Melodious cards are just complete unsynergetic garbage. Like, they're literally like, all Melodious monsters gain 200 attack, and that's literally it. So I'm interested to see what they actually get here, especially because I know they're at least getting one more fusion, so it is involving the fusion aspect of the deck more, which I think is good. And so I'm not going to waste any more time, let's go ahead and get right into the stuff. I think there's 4 cards, not sure though. It says, finally back on tour with Melodious, finally released from jail for Aria crimes. So the first card is actually a pendulum. Did they ever have a pendulum before? I do not think so. This is Refrain the Melodious Songstress. It is a level 4 light fairy pendulum with 1600 attack and 800 defense and a scale of 1. With the pendulum effect saying you can only use this effect once per turn. You can target 1 Melodious fusion monster you control, send 1 Melodious monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, the targeted monster gains attack equal to the sent monster's level times 200 until the end of this turn. And its monster effect says you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. If it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Melodious monster from your deck to your hand, except Refrain the Melodious Songstress. And if a Melodious fusion monster is special to your field while this card is face up in your extra deck, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. So this seems like a pretty solid set of effects overall. So by the way, I did look at it and there are no other pendulum targets, so that's pretty interesting. The next card I'm pretty sure is also going to be a pendulum then. The pendulum effect seems just kind of alright, probably good for just going for OTKs, which a lot of Arc 5 era fusion decks really like going for, so I'm assuming that the new fusion stuff might revolve around doing a lot more damage. And then the monster effect, I mean, Stratos is pretty good. Don't know exactly what are going to be great targets for it yet, because they do have monsters that can special themselves from hand if you control Melodious, but so far, I don't know about the rest of this wave of support, but so far they do not have any link monsters or anything that they would actually benefit from for going into that. So unless they get like a target that can special itself if it's added and then fusion summon or whatever, it doesn't seem to be like the most amazing thing in the world. But the second effect is pretty nice because you can just put it back in your pendulum scale, similar to the Amazonas cards, the Amazonas pendulum cards, which are actually really good. We'll probably get better as we go through the rest of the support, but overall a fine card. My suspicions were correct because the next card is also a pendulum. This is Couplet the Melodious Songstress. She's a level 5 light fairy pendulum with 1200 attack and 2000 defense with a scale of 9. She has a pendulum effect that says you can only use the second effect once per turn. You cannot pendulum summon except light monsters. This effect cannot be negated. And if you control no face-up non-Melodious monsters, you can add 1 Melodious spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Its monster effect says you can only use each effect once per turn. If it's added to your hand, except by drawing it for your normal draw, you can reveal it to special summon 1 level 4 or lower Melodious monster from your hand or graveyard. And if a Melodious fusion monster is special to your field, blah blah blah, you can place it in the pendulum zone. Well, I mean, it's literally almost exactly the same as what I was just saying. If it's added to hand, except by drawing it, you can do something to special. Doesn't special itself, which is interesting, but it specials a different target, so hopefully you have another good target. I'm pretty sure they have a few decent ones here, like, which one is it? It's Tam Tam. She can add polymerization from deck or grave to hand. And probably one of the better ones is Soprano, because Soprano not only does a fusion effect, but also on summon can special another Melodious, or no, so not special another Melodious, add another Melodious from grave to hand. So that seems pretty solid as well. Don't like that it requires a bit more setup already in your hand, but I mean, what can you really do? But the second pendulum effect is also probably going to be pretty solid. I don't know about any new support coming out here that'd be good targets, but I'm pretty sure they have like decent cards in their back row. Oh wow, actually literally as of their current support, not just the stuff being revealed here, they only actually have 1 target for this. That's hilarious. Their first new fusion coming out of this wave is Spectacular Bach the Melodious Maestra, or Bach the Melodious Maestra. Looks like a little bit of a translation like confusion there, but it is a level 7 light fairy fusion with 2500 attack and 1800 defense. It requires 2 Melodious monsters, and you can only use the first and third effects of this card's name once per turn. If it's special summon, you can special 1 Melodious monster from your deck. Your Melodious fusion monster's activated effects cannot be negated while you control this fusion summon card, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Melodious monster in your graveyard except Bach, and special it in defense position. This overall seems pretty solid. I mean, it's got decent stats, really easy summoning condition. On summon gets you any Melodious from your deck, which can range from the high levels if you really want one for some reason, or the lower levels that can extend your plays a little bit, like the ones that can fusion summon. Pretty solid protection on the second effect, and some recursion as well. It just says if it's sent to the graveyard period, by the way, so that includes if it's like sent from the extra deck for some reason. And then this just gets you a free body on board. I really like this card overall. I think there's nothing really much to say about it. And their other fusion is the card I've been seeing a lot of fan art on Twitter from OCG artists of lately, and that is Flowering Etoile, the Melodious Floral Song Goddess, or something like that. It is a level 8 light fairy with 2000 attack and 1500 defense. It requires 1 Melodious Maestra monster and 2 Melodious monsters. So basically you have to use either Schuberta the Melodious Maestra, one of their old fusions, either of the high level main deck monsters, or the Bach card right here to go into her. And she says you can only use her first effect once per turn. Quick effect, you can banish any number of Melodious monsters you control until the end phase, then you can return up to that many face-up cards your opponent controls to the hand, and if this face-up fusion summon card in its owner's control leaves the field by your opponent, you can special summon 1 Melodious monster from your main or extra deck except another copy of itself. So it seems pretty decent. It actually gives them something to do going first, because I'm pretty sure the deck would just like to go second to use their Bloom Diva in the extra deck that could like kind of do like Recital Starling reflection damage and destroy stuff. So actually giving them something to do going first is pretty cool. The summoning condition is a little bit rough though in terms of that, because like I don't know how much setup this deck can get. Let me know if you know like what this new support does in terms of like setup for the deck, but it is a pretty nice disruption, and it might reset some soft, not soft ones per turns, but just, it might reset some effects period. And the second effect is pretty decent, but to be fair, she's probably going to be banishing herself most of the time to dodge stuff, so I don't know how often it's going to come up, but overall, it's a decent card, though I think Bach might just overall be better. And their final card is a new target for the Pendulum monster called Melodious Concerto. It is a normal spell that says you can only use each effect once per turn. Fusion summon a 1 fairy fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand, field, and or Pendulum Zone as material, and if a Melodious Fusion monster is sent to your graveyard while this card is there, you can place this card on the bottom and then draw 1 card. This seems like a really good card. It actually gives them some combo potential with the Pendulums, because remember, you can use the Refrain the Melodious Songstress to search for the Couplet the Melodious Songstress. As long as you have any other name in hand, you can activate her effect to reveal, and then special a thing, and then you can use the Couplet effect when you put her in the scale, search for the Concerto, use Concerto to fuse using her, and then something else, and then put them back in the Pendulum scale. Like, seems pretty solid to me. But alright, it looks like that's going to do it for this wave of Melodious support. What do I think about it? I think it at least gives Melodious some kind of cohesion. Like, the deck before was just really awkward. Like, a lot of their effects just didn't really do anything, much less together, and they just only had like a few decent cards that actually could play. Also, I'm stupid, by the way. I forgot they got this absolutely absurd custom card Link monster, so that actually makes this even better. What the hell? Yeah, I think like it actually gives them a coherent theme. They can actually pull off combos now between the new fusion monsters and their Link monster. They can actually get turn 1 setup, which is really good. And I really like the addition of the searchable in-archetype fusion spell, even if it is a hard once per turn, which is a bit rough when it comes to in-archetype fusion spells, because at that point polymerization becomes slightly better. But being able to use stuff from your hand, field, or Pendulum Zone is really cool. And I like that it recurs itself as well and gives you an additional card in hand. Do I think the deck will see any like top tier success? No, probably not, but I think absolutely this is a deck you could take to a smaller tier event and see reasonable success with. I mean, like, this actually gives it some consistency and some end board play, but I'm pretty sure you can still also set up things like your Bloom Diva, the Melodious Choir effect, so you can actually revert to either kind of playstyle that you want. But I don't know, that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, because that's going to do it for the video. If you liked it, please be sure to leave a like, as well as put this video and the channel into your recommended. And if this content or something like it, like the rest of my review series, then perhaps consider subscribing and turning on notifications, because it supports the channel more than anything else, and it's absolutely free. Also, if you want to support me directly while getting some awesome TCG merchandise in the process, check out Tapioca's link down below. Use code Aurora5 for 5% for purchase at checkout, and support me financially. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.